laboratories into the classroom, we can create a joyful classroom learning environment for our learners. We can satisfy the lot of curiosity and we can create the scientific attitude among our learners throughout, and through which our learners can become active and they will enjoy our learning process. The science club play a very important role in the transaction of the science curriculum. As the ma'am has shared that the topic of today's presentation is regarding making our science classrooms more innovative, more joyful for our learners, so that our learners feel that they are being present in the real classroom environment and they are being connected to the world in which they live. So the topic, the sub-theme which I have chosen for today's presentation is creating a joyful science classroom, strategies and the best practices. Before moving on to the presentation, I would like the audience to just give a minute to view these pictures which I have shown on the slide. As you can see the different kinds of the pictures where teachers and students interaction is going on. And we just have to give a minute to observe what kind of the expressions the child is showing on faces. If we see to the, if we look around to the different kind of the images, we can see that the learners are feeling very happy. They are feeling being involved into the classroom. Every kind of the learner is just willing to answer, to participate in the different activities which are being taking place in the classroom. It means the learners are having a joyful environment as the teacher has tried to involve the learner into the teaching learning process. Am I right? If we are looking into these kind of the pictures, we can imagine from a very distance what kind of the happy expressions the learners have on their faces. Now, on the other side, if you look at to the this scenario, you can see that the different learners are the learners enjoying this type of the classroom. Of course, the answer will be no. The learners are feeling very bored. They are considering that topic being taught only by the one person, and they are just the listeners, as they are being the passive learners. They are feeling that the topic is going over their head and they're not able to pay the attention because of the different style of the teaching. That is only the traditional pattern of teaching which is being followed by the mainly by the teacher in this classroom. So slowly the learners are becoming sleepy. They all the lack of the concentration. They are not able to pay the attention. Of course, dear audience, we don't want such kind of the teaching learning scenario, especially with the NEP 2020, that is the National Education Policy 2020, which is featuring out a different form of the education system in the entire country. If we look into the basic crux of the NEP 2020, it is emphasizing on making the education more lively, connected to the life of the children, providing them the daily life experiences, and overall the kind of the learning where learners' holistic development is taking place. And of course, it is putting up with a lot of pressure in all the systems of the education, starting from the school education to the higher level of the education. Moving further, if we see that the NEP has brought about the change in the transformation in the education pattern, the education system, and of course, it is expecting the different styles of the teaching, of where the teaching be more linked to the child, and where the child is also the part of our teaching learning process. Therefore, the sub-theme of the today basically will be focusing on how to create a joyful classroom learning environment, especially in the subjects of the science, by utilizing the different resources which the teacher can use to the maximum. Now, if we see there is a transformation of the entire Indian schooling system, We are focusing on development of the 21st century skills as we are dealing with the 21st century learners, and hence the curriculum need to be focused on providing the evidence-based and a critical thinking type of the learner. The learner should be aware about what is happening around him, why the certain things are happening, what is the cause and effect relationship. Apart from this, the learner must have the skills related to the communication, and we are focusing not only on the cognitive domain of the learning, we are focusing on the entire development, that is the three domains of the learning, cognitive, psychomotor, and the affective domains of a learning. Now, with this, there has been emphasizes that the National Curriculum Framework for the School Education, that is NCF and SCE, which is in the process of just completion, as we are coming across the newspaper that the new NCRT textbooks have already been launched and they will be implemented very soon. If we look around to the NEP 2020 recommendations and how as a teacher or a teacher educator, we can train the teachers to create a joyful learning classroom environment around us, we need to focus on the three things. Number one is the pedagogy, second is your content, and third it is emphasizing the change in the role of a teacher. Of course, the content. The content which we are going to provide to the child, the curriculum which we are providing to the child, it should be meaningful. Until and unless I found any meaning in the things which I am learning, why I will learn anything. It should provide experiential experiences to the learner, and it has been emphasized that it should be holistically rooted into the Indian value system. And to implement such kind of the curriculum, the different approaches, strategies, and the style of the transactions adopted should also be need to be considered, and they also requires a modification. Now, if you see the change in the role of the teacher, now the teachers are not only just a source of providing the information or only just passing on the knowledge to the learners. As we know that the learners have they are much resourceful. They are the I generation learners of the today's century. The teacher is just to provide a little of the light to the child, and the whole spark is within the child. As it has been rightly said, the destiny of India is being shaped in her classroom. So we actually has to create the destiny of the child within the classroom. Just giving the backdrop to the situation that why we need to create a joyful learning environment and why our learner is requiring certain changes in our styles of the teaching, and how as a teacher I can become more resourceful. We can just see that because our learner, the learner which whom we are dealing in the classroom situation, is the I generation learner, is the next generation learner, is a digital savvy learner who cannot imagine a single day without the cell phones, without the technology. And the learner is the most active learner who is a multitasking learner. So to deal with such kind of the learner, of course, we need to plan out our lesson. We need to create out our lessons in a such a way where there is no only lecturing or repetition, whereas there is the interaction, where there is a lively environment. Therefore, there is a need to create a joyful classroom learning environment. And now coming basically to the science curriculum, as it has been said in the NCA 2005 also, the science education should be the education which is true to the child, true to the life, and true to the science. The learner should be provided such kind of the content in the science education in which the basic purpose is of doing, exploring out, doing the innovations, doing the discoveries, creating out something new, trying out already which has been there. And for such, and to make the such things happens into the reality, we need the kind of the teaching environment. We need to implement the teaching practices which are being connected to the life of the child. As the aims and objectives of the science teaching are to develop the process skills among the learner, we have to satisfy the curiosity, creativity in the mind of the learner, because learner want to explore out what is happening around him. Even if the child is using a simple technology in a day-to-day life, the child wants to see what is that logic behind why this particular thing is moving around. So after having the just a backdrop about the what kind of the learning is being required, as it has been said in the policies and all, we have just in the first part of the presentation, I'm just focusing on what in the reality, what kind of the science education is being required. Now, to implement all these things into the reality, of course, we need to follow the certain kind of the strategies where I can provide the joyful creative learning to the learner. The statement which is all around in the air कि खेल खेल में ही आपने सिखा दिया और बच्चे को पता भी नहीं लगा कि वो कॉन्सेप्ट भी सीख गया. So that is a major crux which has been the need of the 21st century learners. As it has been the old Chinese proverb, if I hear, I forget, and I see, and I remember. But if I do, I understand. If we all remember, there is a day cons of the experience. There are different kind of experiences which we provide to the learner. And the minimum learning take place only when somebody is giving me information and I'm just listening as a passive learner. I will only be able to retain the 10% of the information. But slowly, if I have been made the active learner, I will be getting more of the information. I will be able to retain more than 70% of the information which is being provided because I am being given the hands-on experiences to different kind of the scenario. And as we can see in the phone, like 90% of the learning can take place if the child is being involved into doing something. If the child is being the part of the learning. So we will be moving from the abstractness towards the concreteness. Even if you carry the simple activity in your classroom, the child becomes active because he feels that he is doing something, he is being involved, he is being given the opportunity to share out, to explore out, to touch the things. And such things we remember till our long life. Even if we remember in our sixth class where the first time the teacher shows the structure of the flower to the child remembers till the child goes into the college life also because in that the child was actually involved in doing something. So moving on to the second part of the presentation, which is giving us about the practical strategies of how to create the joyful scienceful classroom environment. I would like to represent in the front of the audience the innovative pedagogies which can help to us to create the joyful science classroom environment as the teachers and the teachers educator. Till here, any kind of the question from anybody's side, ma'am? Shall we proceed further?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, to create the joyful science classroom environment, the first strategy is that we can bring the laboratories into the classroom. Now, the question arises, how can I bring the laboratory to the classroom? As it has been seen through the researches, I myself have conducted researches in the schools of the Delhi, that the labs are not into the active form in most of these schools, and many of the time the teachers are not able to take the students to the laboratories to do out the experiments. So what strategy we as a teacher can do? We can simply enable us to use a simple kind of the apparatus by using the low cost teaching materials. The materials which are not which are being considered as a waste, they are actually not the waste. They can be utilized as creating the useful apparatus into the our education system. For example, in this figure slide, I'm showing the diagram of the human eye apparatus. These are the teacher trainees who are doing the teacher education course in our college, and most of the things we start providing from the teacher training so that when you become a teacher into the actual field, you can implement different things. So one simple thing is that we can create our own apparatus by using low cost teaching materials, and so they can provide the experience to the learners like they are using the apparatus in the standardized form. Like there is another apparatus, you can see we all have the topic of the respiration in class 7, and there is a lungs model. To enable the child to understand how the inhalation and exhalation process can take place, we can create this kind of the model into our classroom, और जिससे कि आपके बच्चे की क्यूरियोसिटी लेवल भी सेटिस्फाइड हो जाएगा. Child will become so excited, he will become ready to learn the things actually by doing the experiment. So in this way, we are bringing the laboratories into the classroom just by creation of the simple operators. Another strategy, like another operators which our student create is a simple electric circuit. How the flow of the electricity take place by just simply attaching a battery and a simple wire, the child can get out the experience how actually the electric circuit work on, how the bulb glows. Like you can see the child succeeding with the help of the pinhole camera. So by bringing the laboratories into the classroom, we can create a joyful classroom learning environment for our learners. And this is a great opportunity which can be provided to the learners at any cost. It's just a simple way to create a different kind of the operators. Now, another strategy which we can use is the method of storytelling in the science. If we create the digital stories and through which we can teach the topic to the students, they also provide the joyful classroom learning environment to the child. So, different digital stories can be created with the help of the apps which are being available these days. I will just come into the videos later on. Like we can create a storytelling with the help of the flashcards also, where also the brainstorming session can take place among the learners. Now, if you see that by creating the variety of the teaching learning materials, we can provide the innovations and we can satisfy the lot of curiosity and we can create the scientific attitude among our learners throughout and through which our learners can become active and they will enjoy our learning process. Because
हो सकता है कि वो केयरिंग हो सकता
I
है वो
can see
अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो।
through this video, I'm trying to express we are sharing out the experience of the teacher trainee, like how by the use of the teaching learning material, you can make the classroom environment joyful and creative for the student.
मटेरियल कैसे एक टीचिंग लर्निंग मटेरियल स्टूडेंट को और एक टीचर को हेल्प करता है पूरे टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस में। तो आगे बढ़ने से पहले मैं आपसे एक क्वेश्चन करना चाहूंगी। आप लोग सब स्कूल में पढ़ के आए हैं, कॉलेज में पढ़ के आए हैं, तो कभी ना कोई टीचर आपका फेवरेट रहा होगा। तो क्या रीजन था उसका कि वो टीचर आज तक अब आपको याद है? हो सकता है कि वो केयरिंग हो सकता है वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो, या फिर वो कॉन्सेप्ट अच्छे से पढ़ाता हो, या ये भी हो सकता है कि वो अपने टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस में टीएलएम का यूज करते हो। तो यही रीजन है कि टीएलएम हमारे टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस को इतना ज़्यादा इफेक्टिव बना देता है कि उससे हमारे स्टूडेंट कभी भी बोर नहीं होते। हमें क्या करना है, अपनी टीचिंग को स्टूडेंट्स को फन वे में पढ़ाना है। टीएलएम जिसमें हमारी हेल्प करते हैं वो स्टूडेंट्स को एक रियल और प्रैक्टिकल एनवायरनमेंट प्रोवाइड करते हैं जिससे स्टूडेंट्स कॉन्सेप्ट को अच्छे से समझ पाते हैं और क्लास में वो बोर नहीं होते। स्पेशली जो 6 to 8 क्लास के बच्चे होते हैं उनको कुछ ना कुछ न्यू चाहिए होता है। आई पर्सनली खड़ा होकर आंसर कर रहा था। तो ये है हमारे टीएलएम की पावर। टीएलएम हमारे टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस में। दूसरी तरफ आप एक रियल फ्लावर लेकर गए, उसके पार्ट्स आपने उसको बताए, ये स्टिग्मा होता है, स्टेमन होता है, ये पेटल होता है, तो कौन सा मेथड ज़्यादा इफेक्टिव होगा? ऑब्वियसली जो आप रियल चीज स्टूडेंट्स को दिखा रहे हैं उससे बच्चा ज़्यादा अच्छे से समझ पाएगा, उसके पार्ट्स को अच्छे से देख पाएगा। तो ये एक स्टूडेंट्स को रियल लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस देते हैं। इट मीन्स टीएलएम हेल्प्स इन लॉन्गर रिटेंशन, लाइफ टाइम तक याद रख पाएगा, उसको कभी भूलेगा नहीं। एंड मेक श्योर आप जब भी कोई टीएलएम प्रिपेयर करें आप उसके तीनों डोमेन्स को माइंड में रख के प्रिपेयर करें, कॉग्निटिव, इफेक्टिव एंड साइकोमोटर, जिससे हम स्टूडेंट्स को कैटेगराइज कर सकें। टीएलएम हमें हेल्प करते हैं कि हम बच्चों की नीड्स को प्रिपेयर करना चाहिए। अब मैं आपके साथ अपनी ही क्लासरूम का एक सिनेरियो शेयर करना चाहूँगी। जब मैंने टीएलएम शेयर किया क्लास में तो बच्चे कितने ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड हो गए थे, उनका एक्सप्रेशंस, उनकी जो एक्साइटमेंट थी, यू कैन सी इन द वीडियो।
Now here we can see the expressions on the face of the child, how excited they have become. Just by the use of the simple apparatus of the periscope, which the teacher has created just with cartoon. अब हम आप इमेजिन कर सकते हैं बच्चे को रियलिटी में कितना एंजॉयमेंट मिलता है।
आई हैव वन मोर टीएलएम ऑफ इंग्लिश जो मैंने अपनी क्लास में कंजक्शंस पढ़ाने के लिए बनाया था। ये कंजक्शन व्हील स्टूडेंट्स को आना था और ये व्हील को स्पिन करेंगे और जो भी कंजक्शन वर्ड आएगा उसको में इनको एक सेंटेंस फॉर्म करना होता था। इस एक्टिविटी को बच्चों ने बहुत ज़्यादा एंजॉय किया था और
I hope the audience have got the clarity just by use of a simple TLM. We can totally change the scenario of the learning situations. So that was an interview with a teacher trainee about the using of the TLMs in the classrooms, and you all might have seen the expressions on the face of the child. Now, if we see the two figures, the two situations, and the number one figure, if the teacher has been asking the child to simply draw the figure of the rabbit, the child may find interest or not, but the child will be become more excited, will be willing to know more about what the rabbit is. If the teacher shows the picture of the rabbit and then asks the child to draw the picture of the rabbit. Now you can see the joyfulness which we have seen through the video also on the face of the child, because there the child is being given the feeling like a scientist, like he is being discovering something, he is exploring out, and then he is coming to the concept through the constructivist approach. So there are the variety of the TLMs which we can use, like we can use the even if a simple chart which the teacher uses in the classroom, give the concrete experiences to the child, because the chart gives the bigger vision of the diagrams which are being shown into their textbook. Another thing is if we create the flip book in the form of the calendar, where you're showing the different kind of the pictures and some of the content is being provided. So through this also the child become the curious. For the curiosity, if you see in the book, there is a small बूझो तो जाने पहली, अगर टीचर बीच बीच में बच्चे से कोई ना कोई रीगल्स लेकर आता है और फिर उसको टॉपिक से रिलेट करता है, लाइक वी हैव दिस रीगल if related to the topic of the shadow, related to the candle topic, if you're teaching the topics of the light and the electricity to the child become excited. The curiosity level it gets to be satisfied, and he becomes willing to learn more about it. It means the child is being provided the attention. The concentration level of the child increases automatically. We can also have the use of the online worksheet by creating online worksheets on the different apps, which keep on showing the scoring, the performance of the child side by side, and the child gets the emojis and other kind of the boost up, which motivate the child further to perform the bigger questions more on, more and more on. Like we can create the animated videos also, which also provide the kind of the joy of the discovery to the child if the child uses a different kind of the videos. And if we are using the animated videos in our teaching learning process, they can also provide the creative environment to the child. Another thing is crossword puzzle. Through the crossword puzzle, the better retention of the concept and the clarity of the concept can be seen. As a teacher, we can understand whether the child have understood the process or not, or he is just giving us the answer. As a crossword puzzles include the so many scientific skills, like we have to think critically, we have to analyze, we have to see the cause-effect relationship. So with the help of the crossword puzzles also, we can create a joyful classroom environment. अगर आप एक सिंपल से क्रॉसवर्ड पजल बना के अपनी क्लास में ले जाते हैं और जो आप टॉपिक पढ़ा रहे हैं उसका रिकैप्चुलेशन उसके करवाते हैं, the child becomes so excited that he is being getting something, and the learning becomes meaningful for the child. Nowadays, there is a thing which is being very highlighted on the NCRT website. If you see, that is Jadoo Ka Patiara. What is this Jadoo Ka Patiara, or what is this Jadoo Ka box, the magic box in the science education? Actually, these are the science kits which are being recommended, which a teacher should carry in the classroom for performing the different kind of the activities into the science. As till the 10th class, we have the integrated science system. Even if you can't have the Jaduka Patiara, it is also available nowadays in the e-form. We can provide the virtual experience to the child, or what we can as a teachers do, we can create our own science kit. And we can encourage our students also to create their own science kit, like what we used to do in the schools when we go for the teaching practice. Our child creates a science kit. In this, we create the three sections, like you can see physics, chemistry, and the biology. तो 6 to 10 क्लास के जो भी टॉपिक्स होते हैं, we conduct activities related to that and keep on keeping the material related to those activity into the science kit. So now through this also we are providing the laboratory experience to the child within the classroom. And this we also encourage the learners to create their own science kit, ताकि they become the science, they develop the scientific outlook when they're studying into the classes of the science. As in most of the schools, through the researches, it has been found that the children are being taught the science like they are being taught the lessons or the story. Actually, this is not the requirement of the science transaction of the science curriculum. So, with the use of the
Ma'am,
simple, so I was talking about the crossword puzzles, and the next is the creation of the science kits. So by using the simple waste box also, we can carry the simple activities which we perform in the science. And we can keep our resources into the related to activities into the science kit. So it also becomes a resource for the child, and the students can also be motivated and encouraged to use the science kits into their classroom teaching learning process. Now another thing is the creation of the comics. If kids also the another version of the storytelling, nowadays we are making the use of the art into the science. The art is not just to have the fun of the colors, drawings, and the pictures. If with the help of the art, we can also teach the concept to the child, like we can see in this picture, the global warming concept is being taught. एक तो child को लगेगा कि the child is getting the some comic, he is reading the comic. Actually, through the comic, the child is covering up the different concepts of the science and the fun learning environment. Now we can also make the use of the puppets, puppetry and the puppet shows. Like we provide often conduct the workshop for the teacher trainees on using the puppets, the simple paper puppets. With the help of the puppets, we can create the story, and through the story transaction, the child become more excited. And through this also, you can teach the different concepts to the child. Like in this, with the help of these puppets, we are teaching the concept of the light and the shadow with the help of the story of the lion and the rabbit. See, now if you involve the child into the simple activities, how curious a child becomes and the learning become a meaningful venture for him. So here we can see another thing these days the schools are emphasizing on creating formation of the science clubs. We all form the different kinds of the subject clubs. The science clubs play a very important role in the transaction of the science curriculum. In the science clubs, we organize different kinds of the activities like celebration of the National Science Day on 28th Feb. And in the science club, you can organize a different kind of the visits, lectures, exhibitions, model exhibition, demonstrations for the child. So child becomes gets the feeling from very starting that he is like a scientist. They start feeling that they are also being the part of the world of the science, and the science become a real subject for them in the reality. And another thing which we can also implement in a school education while the transaction of the science curriculum is creation of the science portfolio. As we know, the portfolio is a compilation of all the different activities which we do. This is just an example of the e-portfolio which we use to prepare. In this e-portfolio, the child can keep on compiling entire science activities, जितनी भी वो activities करता है, जितने भी वो projects करता है, different kinds of the worksheets, कहीं वो visit पे जाता है, some facts that child has explored out, anything which a child has read in a newspaper, etc. So in this way, the child can also create their basic science portfolios. So if we see, we have basically look around to the so many different styles of making the classroom environment joyful and learning for our learners. So many strategies I have shared with you all. I hope these can make the learning environment more creative, enjoyable for the child. And the thing has to be starting from the teacher education program, from very initial stage, that is the pre-service stage. If you impart the teachers the training in creation and the utilization of these resources, of course they will bring the change into the classroom scenarios and the teaching learning process. Ma'am, just a minute, I will like to just share one of the videos related to the digital story.
Some natural
Is it
phenomena.
good?
yes, ma'am.
Sunny, Sanya's brother. Mummy, Sanya's mother. Kids, don't go outside. There are flashes of lightning outside. It might be dangerous for you to play outside, so don't go. Yes, Sanya, we must take precautions to save ourselves. I agree, Bhaiya. We should be inside. We should remain inside our house. But I must be thinking why lightning occurs in the sky. It's a long story, Sanya. Have you ever wondered why our hairs stand out when we take off our woolen clothes? When we take out our woolen clothes out here, we hear sparkling sound and sometimes we hear sparks. We feel sparks also. Long time back, there was an American scientist named Benjamin Franklin who discovered these light sparks in the woolen clothes and lightning in the sky. These both are same phenomena. Both are same phenomena. How is this possible, Bhaiya? Do you know what will happen if we rub the plastic foam on our hair and then take it to near to these bits of paper? Yes, Bhaiya. I think the comb will attract these bits of paper towards itself. Sanya, do you know why this happens? Yes, Bhaiya. I have read about by rubbing a plastic object, these objects get charged and attract the things like paper towards itself. Yes, Sanya, you are right. So, do you think the little sparks in our woolen clothes are due to these charges only? Yes, these woolen clothes get charged when they are rubbed against our body, and when we remove it produces sparking sound. Exactly. This is the charge that makes our hair stand when this means we can charge object by rubbing them. So, Sanya, I hope you will be cleared about.
Okay. I hope we have got the clarity how by making the use of the digital story creations, we can teach the concept to the child, where the child will be thinking like he is watching some video or some cartoons, but through this, the child is actually learning the concepts of the science. If we move further, we see uh, we can see that the science is a adventure in itself. We keep on exploring, keep on exploring. Therefore, it is involved both the process and the products. So we as a teachers, educators, we have to keep the science learning joyful adventure. So I hope through this presentation we have got the clarity that by using the different kind of the teaching learning materials and the resources, how we can create and make our classrooms joyful learning science environment, so that the child just keep on waiting when the science teacher will come and she will have some magic stored within her and will provide the different kind of the environment to the child, and the science will automatically become a something which is being running into the bloodstream of the child.
Ma'am, we have a first question. Um, how can we incorporate technology and digital tools to enhance experiential learning in science classrooms?
Yes, ma'am. The very relevant and effective question we have. We can make the use of the digital technologies, like we can provide the virtual lab experience to the learners in the classrooms, and for which the different softwares are being available. If we can't take the students to the laboratory due to the certain constraints, and in most of the middle classes, we don't provide the opportunity. We provide a less opportunity to the child. So you can provide the overall experience to the child with the help of the virtual laboratory, and through which the child can get the experiential learning experiences. In fact, have not shown in this, maybe in the future we get for the chance. We can also plan for the virtual visits. Like nowadays, if you visit to the website of the museums and the all, the entire website will give you the overview with the help of the virtual tool. I hope I am clear about my answer.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question. How libraries and librarians can support in curriculum designing in a subject?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, ma'am, how libraries and librarians can support in curriculum designing for a subject?
Okay, if you consider the librarians and the library person, how can they develop? How can they help out? They can basically help out in just giving the overview, because if you know the curriculum principal constructions, basically the curriculums are being designed by taking into the experts from the that particular field only. But the librarians and the library people, if you do the researches, we have found that they provide us their experience, like which kind of the book child prefer in the bookshelf. If the book cover is very attractive, it has some animations on it, and it has very glossy sheets. So these kind of suggestions we can take in the form of the librarian's help. But actual content knowledge for that you will be needing the expert only.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question from Dr. Danish Patel. Many children fail to grasp the fundamentals in chemistry or physics in junior classes. They struggle when they reach high schools. How can we deal with such students?
Okay, when we actually there is a basic transition which take place when the child is moving from the fifth standard to the sixth or eighth. I think the sir is asking the question related to the middle classes. Because in initial stage we are just focusing on to the environmental sciences. Now, as I have shared so many different strategies, if you sir can provide the simple chemistry activity experience into the classroom, like if you make the use of the science kit where simple acid based experiment you can show to the child in the classroom, simple concepts of the physics like light reflection can be taught with the help of the even the resources available in the classroom. So in this way we can make the confusions of the child clear.
Thank you, ma'am. We have another question from Manish Sablok. Please explain the domains of TLM that was given by a teacher in video shown by you.
Okay, the three domains, sir, are basically the three domains of the learning on which the entire teaching learning process is based. They are basically known as the three H, that is the head, heart, and the hand. That is your cognitive domain, which is being related to the knowledge, more concepts, more understanding. And another one is the hand, that is your psychomotor domain, where your child is doing something, he is experiencing out something where we are focusing on eye and hand coordination. And another is the affective domain, where the focus is on developing the values, the feelings, the emotions. So there are three domains of the learning on the basis of which entire teaching learning process is being framed.
Ma'am, we have another question from San N. How far are simulations useful in learning?
Yeah, simulation, of course, sir, is a very important part of the teacher preparation program. As we know, the simulation provides us an overview about what is going to happen in the actual field. If you practice your simulation lessons in your teacher education colleges, which is being provided as a part of the PH curriculum, we are able to know what are the different teaching through the simulation practice, we are being provided an opportunity to practice out our entire teaching skills. And as we get the feedback from our fellow mates and from the teacher educators, so that in the when we move into the real field, we are well aware what kind of the challenges will be there and how I will be able to tackle off my challenges. I just share out the experience when the first time the child does the simulation, the child even don't know how to write on the blackboard. So with the help of a simulation, the child is getting an opportunity to practice the different teaching skills so that child become more confident when you are moving into the real environment.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. There's another question from Sujeev Jose. How will you ensure that joyful learning has had its results in the classroom?
Please repeat the question, ma'am.
How will you ensure that joyful learning has had its results in the classroom?
Yeah, it has because we can ensure even if you use at the same time. For example, sir, if you have used certain kind of the demonstrating certain kind of the activity in your classroom, when you're explaining the concept to the child, and during coming towards the end part of your class, if you want to evaluate or just want to get the feedback how much your learner has retained or not, for that you can use the online worksheets, you can use the regals, you can use the puzzles through which you can find out, yes, the learning has taken place with the help of the joyful environment.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Um, Rajamal has raised hands. Sir, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? Okay. So, ma'am, we have another question. How can we create an inclusive science classroom that caters to diverse learning styles and abilities?
Okay, like inclusion is being implemented more nowadays in NEP 2020. For the inclusion, we can include the resources from the local environment only. And to satisfy the diverse needs of the learners, for example, we can make the use of the art integration. I just give you the example. If you use we all are aware about making of the rangolis on the different occasions. That is the use of the art. And if you ask the child to create the rangoli related to your state or to your culture or a community to which you are belonging, and with the help of the rangoli, you're asking the child to draw something related to the science concept. In this way, also you can include and satisfy the diverse needs of the learners. And in fact, we can, if you are teaching the topic of the food substances to the child, which is being in the class 6, and if you ask the children to share out about the different food items of their community, their culture, in this way you can create the inclusive classroom also in your class where all the learners are being included.
Ma'am, we have another question from Dr. Danish Patel. What strategies have you found most effective in making science lessons more engaging and interactive for students?
Of course, sir, is a constructivist approach, which is covering so many strategies, which we have shared just in the presentation also. If I'm focusing on the constructivist approach, where the child is constructing the concept himself, and in this we can have the experiential learning as in a strategy. If you take the child to the garden of the school also, the child is seeing the plants, seeing the trees, seeing the flowers, what the nature in reality is, instead of just drawing the diagram on the blackboard. Another strategies that we can see in the storytelling methods, discussions are there, demonstrations are there, and where the child is being involved. Through this, we can provide more learner-centered strategies.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Ma'am, Guru Masish has requested to share your thoughts on giving values to students by a joyful science classroom.
Yeah, sure, sir. We are moving now through this question to the effective domain of the learning. I would like to take this answer with the help of an example from the environment, right? Nowadays, we're focusing more on the sustainable development, education for the sustainable development. If I want to create the sensitization among the child, that the child should become more aware about his environment, and on the Involved Environment Day, that is used to be on the 5th of the June, I just create one activity, one competition in my science class. Like all the students have to create the posters and the slogan writing on the environment conservation and preservation. And this way, I'm developing the values among the child related to protection of his environment.
Ma'am, we have another question from Danish Patel. What are some creative ways to integrate interdisciplinary approaches in science teaching to make learning more holistic and relevant?
Yeah, Indian disciplinary systems can be included by providing now the content is being related to the Vedas and the Indian knowledge systems also into the science education. Right today is the Indian Science India's Space Day as we have completed the anniversary of the Chandrayaan 3, and if we plan for the screening of the videos and the movies related to the old how the science education used to work in the medicines like in the at the times of the Vedas and the yogas and the Patanjalis. So in this way we are imparting the Indian tradition systems also into the science curriculum.
Well, we have one more question from San N. How far making videos by capturing a creative PPT screen in teaching process?
And please repeat the question. I'm not getting it.
How far will making videos by capturing a creative PPT screen in teaching process?
Okay, I think the sir wants to ask about the utilization of the videos or the animations into the
Yeah,
classroom
I
teaching.
think. Yes.
Like I have shown you one of the videos. Actually, they are also being created by our students only, of the science students. If we create the videos and give your own voice and the digital stories, they provide us something you can say the concrete experience to the child. it is not possible for us to take every day the child to outside the classrooms and provide him with experiences. So through with the help of the videos, again you are covering the three domains of the learning, and the child is feeling some live interaction is going on.